Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless. A sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it. And I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory, yeah. Don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, yeah,
It is a track of many nicknames, one that sits in South Carolina, and one that has a couple of towns nearby that apparently you don't want to go speeding through. Darlington, South Carolina. We are at the Lady in Black. The track too tough to tame. I think that's the ones I mainly know, nickname-wise. The ones that people wish would be filled with water and dirt and gone away. I think that's why there's a minnow pond off turn 4, is to keep that from happening. In all seriousness, though, it's a fun track. It's one of my favorites. It actually is my favorite track, believe it or not. And it is race number 13 of the Sim500 Cup Series. It is the Darlington Raceway, virtually on iRacing. 130 laps of racing coming up. It's going to be hot, it's going to be slick, and it's going to be Darlington, which is great. And we cannot wait for it as round number 13 kicks off. Monday Night Racing here in Sim500's 811.org Cup Series. I am the captain, Kevin England, of course, joining us as always. As Kevin, we come to Darlington, and qualifying just kicking off right now. We got some cars out there on the track, and needless to say, this lady is one tough woman. Track.
Yeah. What more is there to say? But this is Darlington, and it's one of those racetracks where you race the track. It's a cliche, but it's one of those things that really does play true. And, you know, there's so much technical prowess to get into turn 1, find the right turn through the center, drive off without banging the wall on the outside. And then you scream down the backstretch into what is an impossible place to get through cleanly. Turns 3 and 4 here at this racetrack with zero grip. Impossible to get on pit road, pit strategy all over the place, tire wear. I mean, you know, what else could you want for a more compelling race?
That's a great question, and I think we're in line to see some what they call Darlington stripes. That is a infamous term around here, basically where you go up there and you scrape the wall. You're going to see plenty. Oh, right there, Comstock about got it. You're going to see plenty of racing. One thing also you're going to see is a lot of tire wear, especially the right rear. Being told that after about 20 laps, the right rear is almost undrivable. And that's going to play a big point in tonight's race because, you know, there's going to be some shifting. There might not be some shifting. So I think how much you preserve and drive the car off the right rear is going to tell you how fast you are going to be in that car this evening. So right now, Pedro Mojica, who's fresh off his second sweep of the season last weekend at Kansas Speedway, he's on the pole. Tyler Dalton's right there with him. Got some other cars here on track. Here's the Shriners Children's car, the 54 of Jimmy Coleman. Let's put the grid up here on the screen. As per usual, it doesn't want to cooperate with me. But Darlington, this is a track that, if there's any track that you want to work on your focus and you want to make sure that you are 100% focused on what you are doing and not wanting to make a mistake, this is that track, because if you lose focus at all, it's almost like the wall's waiting on you.
Yeah, it's such a technical track that you have to pay attention. I mean, you're really just driving the car and feeling what's going on underneath you as you go through every segment of the corner. And you have to compensate all the way through. If you drove in a little too hard, you're going to slide up, maybe banging off the wall, but you can't jam the brakes on, and you can't not get into the gas. Otherwise, you screw up the exit and you end up slipping, sliding, hitting the wall. So you really are leaning forward the entire laps, 130 laps of this race. You get no reprieve whatsoever.
And there are some throwbacks being ran here this evening. We'll show you some of them, actually, as we watch Doug Roth, who's in the Allegiant number 43 tonight, actually running a Maury Gallagher car for the Legacy Motor Club. Of course, the 43 in Maury Gallagher owns Allegiant. That's part of that whole partnership there. So if you're one that likes to fly Allegiant, which I will admit I've done a few times, and outside of little delays, they're pretty good prices, but that's a whole nother story for another day. Yeah, he qualifies 14th when it's all said and done. I was like about to go on rambling about Allegiant or something. All right, qualifying is all over with, and well, the man's carrying his momentum into the race here this evening. Let's bring up our pole sitter, and that, of course, being the number 58 of Pedro Mojica here at Darlington, which, again, is one that it's almost like it picks its own winners when it's all said and done. Let me make sure I pulled him up to the right channel. I sure did. Pedro, you get a copy, buddy?
Hey, I got you, Chris.
Hi, buddy. Another pole award, of course, presented by 811 as we come to Darlington, fresh off your second sweep of the season. What do we expect tonight? One thing I'm hearing is the right rear is screaming at you after a few laps. Are we going to see that tonight?
Oh yeah, for sure. This thing, it's a handful for sure. So saving tires is going to be pretty crucial.
Pit road. Of course, there's a chance we see green flag pit stops in this race. Is this one of those tracks where it's almost like you must go as long as you can on a run because it's almost like automatic caution's coming?
Sometimes, I mean, yeah, the way this car is, like, I mean, I did a 30-lap run and I tried to pit and it was very, very sketchy. So, and it's like we can go like twice that, if not more, on fuel. So, yeah, that's gonna be tough. Yeah, I mean, you probably want to side on the safe side, but it's tough because it's kind of hard to pass here too. If everybody's kind of running the same pace, so we'll have to see, man. It'll be interesting to see how, if we do make green flag pit stops, how that goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this also gonna hit me of a potential 2 or 3 stop strategy here? But yeah, I think cautions and stuff might play a role tonight. But we'll see, huh? Best of luck here this evening.
I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. Pedro Mojica on the pole tonight here at the Darlington Raceway. Again, as we get you ready for round number 13 of the season. Starting lineup rolling across the top of the screen. He'll have Tyler Dalton to his outside. I don't know. I'm kind of wondering this myself here. Is this one of those where you get into the window and you get tires right then and there? Or do you let the car keep going?
You let the race come to you, and you do what the race dictates. That's really the proper answer here, because you never really know how this is going to play out. You could plan a great strategy, and then as soon as you have that plan, it goes out the window with what goes on in the dynamic of the race, right?
So basically, what he just said was race the track. Got it.
Race the track, yeah.
Which is what I like to do, and I think that's part of the reason why I like Darlington so much, is because I could sit there and actually race the track and not have to worry about really many other cars.
Race the truck.
Yeah, right. 130 laps, 3 sets of tires in the pits, 100% fuel. This is the third spring race here at Darlington. Both of the others won by Daniel Falkingham. So one thing is for sure, Daniel's not winning this race. But somebody will.
He is not.
Pace car is in as we come to the Lady in Black for the green flag in week number 13 of the Sim500.
First challenge is turn number 1 here.
Yeah, get single file now.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to, but you got to make sure you come out the other side here to the backstretch on the first lap. It's one of the many challenges you'll find here tonight is just make it to the backstretch.
Our cameras tonight presented by TrackCams22.com. You can check them out online on Facebook and on the iRacing forums at TrackCams22.com is their website. As looks like they're going to make it through and complete lap number 1 here at the 13th race of the season for the Sim500 Cup Series. Of course, that's North Carolina, 811.org. So Mojica leads. And already you see the cars kind of fanning out. Single file, a little bit of double file back here mid-pack. As one car heads for the infield, that's Rivera. Nice save on his part.
Pretty easy to do off of turn number 4. If you just put a little bit too much gas coming in with the tires being cold, the car can jump out. You have plenty of space down there, but a lot of drivers go down and do a tank slapper on that left side wall on the front straightaway, and hopefully you don't break a toe link. These drivers need to be really careful to take care of their cars. They can take a beating, but you end up slapping those wheels against the outside fence unexpectedly, and you'll spend a lot of time on pit road working on repairs.
Bentley Glazier looking inside of Joey Gittina here, 3 and 4. Bentley got a good run off 2, but you want to slide up. You want to be able to slide up as much as you can off 3 and 4, and that allows Gittina to get the run. As now we look back there, Doug Roth getting a run on Ritter.
Yeah, Ritter got the car a little bit sideways. So did Tyler Dalton coming out of that corner, and everybody stacked up there.
All right, so 2 things to note. 1, turn number 1 is not necessarily the corner you want to go side by side in. That's why you heard me say ooh for a second, because Ritter did that. And turn number 2, the infamous corner about turn number 2, in case you do not know, that is the corner that Robert Duvall says if you go to turn 4, you can make it to Tom Cruise. That was before the track was flipped. So turn 2 is turn 4. Then 4 is 2.
I know it in my heart, Cole. I just watched that movie the other night.
So we ride on board with Ritter. Slides it. Now, obviously it's an egg-shaped track. And the reason why I kind of referenced it before the race, the track is egg-shaped, is back when this track was built. The track obviously was purchased. They started building it, and they said, look, I don't mind you building a racetrack here. And this was the owner of the farm that's next door. I believe the guy's name is Harold Brazington, if I remember correctly. They said, hey, you can build this track, but don't touch my minnow pond. So you sometimes can get the shot when you look at it here on camera, but turn 4, there is a minnow pond over there. That's why it's egg-shaped.
A lot of good festivities at this racetrack over there by that minnow pond. I took this racetrack in and really enjoyed the races here as we see Kevin DeBrown in the throwback Blaney scheme here, right at the 93.
Yeah, the old Bill Davis. Yeah, Bill Davis Racing in the 93, Kevin DeBrown. I think he
putting a lot of pressure on Pedro. If I'm Pedro, I'm generally not going to fight him too hard.
Yeah, he's got the inside ear. He's got the preferred groove. That right there is a textbook Darlington pass. Great job by Pedro to just let him go. Because eventually, if he wears his tires, you'll be able to get back there to him. You got plenty of racing to go, 122 laps. You do not want to mess up the car, like you said. You don't want to damage the toe link or do anything of sorts like that.
So Kevin DeBrown on top, P1. On lap number 8, as he comes down the front straightaway, opens up a little bit of a gap over Pedro, who will follow him. One of the things you might consider as Pedro is a little bit of gas mileage, but you're also going to follow the car behind you. If he caught you, you want to see what they're doing, maybe a little bit differently on how they enter the corner. Are they running high into turn number 3? Sometimes drivers run in high and jam on the brakes. Others go low. One of the things we heard a lot of drivers experimenting with, Chris, is the brake bias.
Yes.
That helps the car turn in here, and some of them were running some pretty radical setups from what I could hear.
Well, what I'm thinking is they're probably using a lot of front brake here at the beginning of this race because, again, a lot of things we're hearing is that the right rear is getting worn really quickly or getting hot, and it wants the car to spin out. So how do you try to counter that? Well, you try to get heat to the right front to tighten the car up. So we'll have to see how that all works out there. And again, I grimaced because I saw more side by side off turn 2. But needless to say, everybody doing a good job, giving each other plenty of room. Just a couple of notes real quick. Eric Arnold did start on pit road. He's actually 6 laps down, so not sure if he just got stuck in the Porta-John or something in the infield or whatnot, but he is unfortunately 6 laps down. And then John Fowler, he might be stuck in the Porta-John. He still hasn't shown up to run this race.
Yeah, watching the 31 come off turn 2, the car stepped out.
I keep oohing off turn 2. You might get that.
Yeah, you can
I'm
do it all night long.
I'm like, ooh, 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 ooh. Oh, man.
Top 2 broken away. Then there's a gaggle of about 8 to 10 cars. Then it comes back to Donnie Leah, who has the rest of the field in tow. Cool paint scheme for Donnie Lee. He picked up the Kevin Harvick look, running the Busch Light number 29 that was run yesterday. And good to see Donnie back in the series here for tonight's Monday night race.
Speaking of Donnie, kind of a transition to his teammate Doy Woods up in the 4th position right now. This is a Doy Woods track. And I say that from the worn surface as we watch, who is that? 20
Simley in the Duracell
Thank
car.
you,
That's a
Simley. I'm
cool
like, that
thing.
threw me off a little bit there as he pounds the batteries past Elias. Once again, guys, Doug Roth and I think Donaldson, like, both hit the wall. So our stripe count at least is at 2 now.
Yeah, it looks like Leah's car's fading a little bit, or either that or he's just easing out and running, saving those tires as everybody stacked up behind him just kind of sneaks by one at a time. They're side by side right behind him with Doug Roth to the outside. He has Bob Gillenwater looking down low. That's a nervous moment entering turn number 1, but they kind of sorted it out, got back in line.
Bob definitely got out of it there and let him have his. Doug Sigmund in trouble as he's jumped to the pits. I don't know if he got in trouble or whatnot when that's all said and done. But going back to Leah real quickly, Donnie Leah drives a modified, right? Modifieds drive off the rear. So if anything, Donnie Leah is probably saving tires right now and letting this race just kind of fall to him.
Yeah, characteristically like a Josh Berry, right? Knows, understands the racetrack and how to get the power down and what it takes to get that right. As scary moment over there for Josh Parker just a moment ago out of turn number 4. And again, you could just look at turn 4, turn 2, and every lap somebody's going to have a oh boy moment.
Bentley Glazier just had it as we had the almost 2-for-1 off turn 4. We had the Jose Gonzalez make the pass on Doy Woods, and it gave the run for Comstock to make the move, but then Comstock was still side by side coming off of 4. Glazier had the run and tried to jump him 3 wide, but in the end, Glazier ends up falling back to the 8th spot where
Trouble
he was.
turn 3, the 43 is around, going to collect a couple cars. It just did not get a clean entry into the corner. Doug Roth goes around, and now he sits up there against a safer barrier as we go to caution number 1 right over the tunnel.
Felt like MRN radio there for a second. So Roth brings out the caution here for the first time. Well, you said trouble, and I just clicked right on Roth's name, and I went right over to him there. The Allegiant car gone side. Wait a minute, somebody else is over here sideways in turn 4. Who is that, Ritter? The Ritter spins later on in the wreck here, so but caution out for the first time, lap number 16. So this might be the first of the strategy here. If you're
a little weird Kevin Stone moment there. He just drifted up. I think he was looking to see if he could get up high to get the corner turned in, and they got against each other, and then they collected a bunch of different cars over in that incident. Saw Charles Van Schaik get a part of that.
We'll get
Patrick Colby.
We'll get a replay of that in a second here. Right now, seeing some cars on pit road. Joey Jattina was the first to come to pit road, so he's going to give up, I think it was about a top 15 position, and come into the pits. Kevin Stone as Cameron Duro, I believe that's how that's pronounced. Charles Van Schaik, Stoney Benfield, Doug Roth, Randy Yoakum, Ritter, Holyfield, and Sigmund already on pit road. I wonder if this is maybe a strategy. Get off par with the other guys, have some fresh tires here. Jadina, a basic 15-1 pit stop. So interesting. I like the aggressiveness here. The only thing for Joey is he's going to need this race to go green for about 50 or 60 laps to let those tires even out.
I think that might be what he's banking on here at this point, because it's a pretty Interesting move. They only have a handful of tire sets going into this race. They are going to have a tire set limit of 4. And they've taken the first one at lap 18 of 130. So, but this is one of those racetracks where you can have long green flag runs, and maybe Joey has made the right call here. We're going to find out in due time.
Cameron DeRoe, Nelson Rivera. It looks like Van Schijk got some damage in that. But yeah, that was one of those where they're side by side off the corner, very tight quarters. I want to see this angle right here will tell me everything. You know what? Okay, yeah, so it looks like Stone just misjudged. Nice miss by Parker. Yeah. But it looks like Stone just misjudges trying to get into the corner and gets into the left rear there. Stoney Benfield doing a great job missing. Speaking of Stoney, hello all the Stoney Benfield fan club. Kip Cook, Barbara Pinion, Susan Ritchie. Well, Aaron Thomas isn't a part of them, but hey. Aaron's got his own fan club.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in this strategy. We'll see how this is going to play out for Joey and the others who stopped. I feel like, and we've seen this in this results, when you go back and look at the previous races, Chris, they didn't have a lot of cautions at this racetrack. Everybody kind of races the racetrack and usually is pretty cordial, unlike other places where you hold your line and really make yourself difficult to pass. Here, if you see somebody run up on you, it's slower for the two of you to run slow than to let the person pass and then run your own pace without constantly looking in the rearview mirror here. So, interesting dynamic to see some of these drivers drop in. If we split the race up, it's about 30 laps. So 18 plus these caution laps, it's close enough, I think.
It's now at the point where basically with 110 laps to go, Joey's going to have to do 55 if he wants to do one more stop. Now he still could do 2 more stops. Here's the problem, is that eliminates your other 2 sets of tires that you have left. So I think he has to go 55 at least, if he can drive 55, to get to that point of still having a set of tires evened out with the rest of the field. So I'm curious to see where this goes when it's all over with. But Kevin DeBrown took the outside lane. He'll start P1. Pedro Mojica right there with him. I'm sure they're going to work out this restart together. Tommy Ryan in the Trackhouse number 99 on the outside there of Tyler Dalton. And then inside, Jose Gonzalez with Doy Woods as we go back racing, just like predicted.
Green.
Kevin DeBrown gets to start. They'll go single file into turn 1 and 2.
And just like that original start, this is tedious moments here, trying to get over here to turn number 2 and get away cleanly.
Tommy and Tyler almost got together. Tyler going to lose a couple spots there, so he had to get out of the throttle. He's going to lose more than a few, losing about 3 right there as he gets behind the 13 of David Comstock.
Yeah, their nervous moment over there, too, for Jeff Ryan. He had a big snake in the back straight away there as he slid off the racing line, went down and had a lot of racetrack to collect it, but a couple cars got by.
Casey Duncan had a moment also, looked like off turn 4. I saw Van Schijk down near Myrtle Beach. It looked like it. He has a moment again. Casey about loses it turn 2. He saves it. Might need some Serve Pro for his pants.
One of the things that you see is if you slide the car off the corner for a lap or 2, you really have to be delicate as it does get really out of control.
Top 2 have pulled away. You see the old Amco 93 car.
Bum, bum.
Here, right? Double leg. MCO. Actually, it's not that Amco. Yeah, this is Amoco. I'm sorry.
Amoco.
Not
That's
Amco.
the oil company.
Amco's the gas station. Amoco is the oil. And it's actually Amoco, not Amoco, like I'm making it sound like. And I see somebody else back there in turn 1 or off turn 4 going for the apron. Everybody pretty much single file, just minding their P's and Q's here, racing.
Again, sideways.
This is the if you want to survive Darlington, you have to learn to race the racetrack. What is racing the racetrack? Because that sounds kind of weird how you're racing asphalt. Well, here's the deal. You basically have to almost be out there like you're running a 130 lap race by yourself. And if a car is faster than you, you just let them go. And you just pace yourself, because to get to the finish, as they say, the finish first, you got to first finish. So you have to run 130 laps almost by yourself, or at least 110. Get to 20 laps to go, see where you're at, and at that point, then you go racing.
Tell you what, these guys look a little bit more racy this go around here. I see a lot of side by side, a couple passes being picked up. They're beating and banging off each other over there about the 13th position, as Wesley Donaldson has a windshield of side by side with Robert Friery and Donnie Leah. Donnie and Robert trading a little paint over there in turn 1 and 2.
Robert about ran over Donnie, but one thing I did notice, Robert, fourth gear through the corners. He was through fourth through 1 and 2 there, shifted up to fifth halfway up the back to fourth. Let's see what he does here in turn 1 and 2. He about runs over Donnie again. Can you tell that Donnie's driving like a modified? He backed it up the corner, which is how you save the rears on the car. And the fronts, by the way, too.
And I love the Evernhand throwback there for Tyler Dalton.
Yep.
That is so cool with the green number on the roof. Good choice.
Who had the green number? Do you remember?
It was Jeremy Mayfield, was it not?
He and Casey Atwood. Obviously, when Atwood drove.
Oh
it
yeah,
beforehand.
Casey Atwood. Yep.
One of the drivers I could argue to this day really never got that chance, as another car had a couple cars head for the infield.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So up front here, somebody is joining this battle, and that somebody, Jose Gonzalez, who had a fantastic run going at Kansas last week, had a couple issues happen, and then some other things happened, and it went from a good run for Jose to people not being happy with Jose when it was over with.
This is Jose style of racetrack. He's smooth as butter when it comes to racing. He and Pedro have very similar styles. Pedro been able to capitalize it, but Jose is a very similar style driver in this type of racetrack, where finesse and the right kind of attack to the racetrack plays out on the long run. You'll see Jose, he'll tag right with these guys for a long period of time, I think.
And you see Mojica go back to the front there, and Kevin, let him go. That's part of this race and a racetrack thing. That's one I think you might hear me kind of pound in this race, because you hear it talked about in real life, and you see it here. You see Ferrari kind of driving it up the track. Parker going to stick it right down on the bottom, and he's going to make the pass there. Now, checking on Joey Jattina, by the way, his progress. He's up to 18th right now. It's kind of biding his time, I think, saving the tires for the long run of the race. He knows that he can make the passes on these guys anytime he wants. But why go guns blazing through the field when you know these tires is going to fall off more and more, and he'll be able to make moves?
Let's hop in one of the cars here, Chris, and take a lap around this place.
Let's
look at how challenging it is as they go down, say, the front stretch, the back stretch, and pick and choose the line. Come across the line, you go down right against the apron down here. You drop it down on the apron to help the car rotate. Right here, you're in the throttle till you find your mark, usually right at the end of that sign. You'll turn it down, and hopefully the car will sweep up and carry the throttle to the back straightaway. Here, you pick your spot, right there, jam on the brakes, turn it in, slide all the way up against the wall, hopefully not against it, and then you just wait for the car to take a set before you can squeeze into the throttle and roll down the front straightaway. Here you had someone to his inside, so he needs to be a little more careful. He's going to enter high, drive right against the outside fence, right about here, lets out of the throttle, turns the car down, runs up the banking, hopefully not slapping the wall. And unlike the real track, they don't have that bump over there yet in the sim.
Right.
And that grip patch, so it is a little bit different. It drives like more Darlington of old, so to speak.
Now, obviously, yeah, and you see the driving style of Donnie. He's been letting cars go, kind of just letting the track come to him. Right there, you see him clip the apron. You're right here, you can release the wheel and let the car drift up the track, and it allows you to get an apex to that right there, turn 2. because that wall will easily reach out there and grab you. And yes, you do want to get back off the throttle, as you said. Now, I'll go ahead and admit this out loud. My braking point in that corner right there, 3 and 4, is the start of the white lines. I like to brake early, and I like to enter kind of low to middle, and I let the car actually slide itself up the track. Almost release the wheel again to let it slide, because at this point, his caution is out. We'll talk about that here in a second. It's Patrick Colby. And no cheese here on the front straightaway.
Yeah, sitting down there trying to get his car righted as he grabs a gear. The American Muscle Ford gonna come back in and join the back of the field here.
We'll see the replay here in a second. This was not what Joey needed, by the way. So as I was talking about, though, in turn 3, I'm one of those, I like the car to slide up. And the reason being is that the top side is actually the way you want to go around the track. But I've always been somebody that the higher I enter, it seems like I'm automatically going to the wall. So it's like enter low, let the car slide up, have all the room it needs, almost let the car drive itself. Like you said, get a set, and then let it roll off the corner.
Yeah, and every one of these drivers will tell you that there's a spot on the fence somewhere that they use as their brake mark. Sometimes it's signs, sometimes they count the red hash marks. Sometimes they do look for track markers where you see like a change in pavement or something like that.
Oh, no. Look at the replay here. So it started, it looked like Jeff Ryan maybe got a little tight in 3 and 4, and it allowed Ritter to get a run on Colby, who was trying to take it easy, but then Ritter maybe got a little free off the corner, and at that point, unfortunately, turned down into Colby. And that brings the caution out. We have pit stops. A lot of leaders coming in. Jose Gonzalez stays out. Brian Wortman stays out. Let's see. I think one other driver I might know will pit here and maybe top off the fuel tank. I would be shocked right now if Jatina takes tires, because now you're going one set of tires. There's Jatina making the jump to the top. So fuel only for the 14.
Now he's in the same boat as everybody else, right? The drivers who have tires are out behind him, but unfortunately he doesn't have as big a cushion behind him as everybody else did. So
put it like this. Jose Gonzalez is going to have his lunch eaten with hot sauce. Brian Wortman and Jatina are interesting situation. Actually, Gonzalez and Wortman come to pit road here.
Yeah,
so now Jatina... Joey's going to be smart about this. He knows what he's doing. And I think you're going to see Joey he's probably going to take the outside lane, allow these guys to make the passes, and he's just going to run his own pace. And I think here's where the field's going to be challenged to just be patient. Let, Joey run his pace and let everybody get around him. It's not a race to the finish right now. He still have 92 laps to go. How about Eric Arnold there? I see his paint scheme. Anybody recognize that one? That is the Bobby Labonte Talladega 2001 paint scheme, the Polar Bear scheme he and Tony Stewart ran for Coca-Cola. That car did not have the best of finishes. That was the car that ended on its lid on the white flag lap at Talladega on the backstretch that Dale Jr. won. A cool paint scheme, though.
It is cool. But green, I don't know. What do you know of the superstition? No green race cars.
Well, I mean, it worked for a couple people. I mean, Brett Bodine. I mean, it was brought up last night during the All-Star race. If you haven't had a chance to, there's a podcast out there. Of course, I'm gonna get this thing. It's the longest title in the world. It's like Glorious White Knuckle Flipped Over.
Right. Yes.
It's a Dirty Mo Media podcast that Dale Jr. and him produce. It's hosted by Rick Houston. It shares a bunch of weird stories. And if you get a chance, go look up the podcast of Brett Bodine in the 1990 North Wilkesboro race. It was the one you might have heard last night. DW and Larry McReynolds were going back and forth about. But long story short, basically somebody screws up in the timing and scoring somewhere, because Brett Bodine ends up winning a race that DW thought he had won. But Larry McReynolds put tires on Bodine's car. Back in the day, you had to pit like every 40 laps at North Wilkesboro. and won that race. And if you get a chance, you can go listen to the whole story about it. It's actually pretty interesting. But there's the green car, for instance, because that was the Kenny Bernstein 26 car.
Yes. Quaker State.
Yeah.
How about Joey Jettina out in the lead? He's led 8 laps so far this season at Talladega, so it's cool to see him out in front of Darlington here.
Don't be surprised if Joey pulls down here. As he's going to come to the
he's probably already yelled, "Don't run me over."
Yell? He's probably threatening to kick somebody out of the league if he gets ran over. As the green comes out, lap number 40. He gets a good jump here to turn 1. Pedro should be able to pass him here. Let's see. Nope, Joey clears him. Joey's making me look like an idiot. Well, this is new. Everybody else does. Oh, Pedro outran him over.
Wow. Yeah, be careful there.
But this is where the patience
Don't
comes in.
want to be side by side going into turn 3, and especially out of turn 4 if you can help it.
Well, but I would rather be side by side there than 1 and 2. Because there's more of a traditional corner, where this one you got a double apex. And Joey's shifting, you can hear it. And I know some people are not shifting tonight. I know they talked about potentially not shifting would save the right rear just a little bit. Oh, contact! Chad Coleman, and I think that's Montesi. Yeah, Montesi leaning on each other there.
Montesi's quietly having a really good run. He's been in the top 10 and just holding his own all night tonight. As right in front of him, he sees Bentley Glazer's back end step out just a little bit off turn 2, but he never lifted, as you are known not to do here. Just keep your foot in it and yaw it to the right.
Montesi running right there in the 9th position, as mentioned, right behind Bentley Glazier. Chad Coleman right there himself. As Pedro just went out and ran the fastest lap of the race, 29.83 that time by. Thank you, Kip, by the way, on the kind words.
I'll tell you a car I think we're going to keep an eye on here tonight is Bob Gillenwater in that number 4. It's a Bob Gillenwater kind of race. He just quietly running back there inside the top 20, pacing himself. And, you know, he's following who we were talking about earlier, somebody we put a lot of stock in, Donnie Leah. And the two of them, I think by the end of this race, will just quietly pick their way forward, and they'll have something to say.
You know what's funny about that is Bob was one of those right before the race started. I got everything set up for the broadcast, and I went down there like I usually do and talked to a couple people. I'm like, hey, how you feeling or whatever. So I go into the chat there, and I'm like, hey, how's it going, guys? Like that. And Bob goes, I am lost.
He always says that.
I'm like, okay. And he goes, it's not the track. I love the track. It's the car. So Bob running right now up in the top 15, 15th position. Doing pretty solid for somebody that is lost right now, apparently.
Well, first half of the race can be practiced. The second half, he'll put the goals to it. So
he's running. Yeah, he's running the right line. I mean, everything looks pretty solid on his part. I mean, he's probably the hardest part about a car or something that maybe you're learning or don't trust is getting back to the throttle.
Yeah.
And how much? Because like right here, you can almost go wide open for about a second, and then you're back out of it. Rode it back on that white line. Rode it back out against the wall there. Ferrari's going to get a run to your inside here, so now you got to be careful and don't get too close. And now you got Doy checking up, so you got to check up.
Sometimes the car gets really unsettled when you let out of the gas. It'll want to come
Bob's in the
around.
wall. Robert just put Bob in the wall. Wait, Bob just put Bob in the wall.
Oh, no.
Right? Because Robert is Bob. Anyways.
I was watching Chad Coleman. We were talking about don't be side by side off turn 4. He got down underneath Tyler Dalton a lap or two ago. And, you know, for what it's worth, the two veterans know how to do it, but it cost Dalton quite a bit as Chad Coleman was able to make the pass, and that opened the hole for Bentley Glazer to slip underneath.
Go 2 for 1-er.
2 for 1-er.
Buy one, get one, whatever you want to call it. Hey, Eric Arnold, by the way, is 4 laps down now. He's made up 2 laps in this race. Could Eric Arnold pull the old start on pit road 6 laps down and come back and get on the lead lap? That would be interesting.
Yeah, I think in time, if the cautions do play out, that's going to be a possibility there. So
David?
looking at the way the field is structured right now, you have the top two kind of broken away. Pedro's out front. Second is Kevin DeBrown chasing him down by about 4 car lengths. And you have a pretty decent gap, maybe quarter straightaway back to David Comstock, who's quietly just running here, top 5 like he normally does. He's got the 99 of Tommy Ryan sitting right behind him, 2-time winner this season, having a great 2023. They're kind of running in a little cluster there. Then it goes back to Chad Coleman, whose luck has just been awful lately. They were talking about an equipment change for Chad and how that may have had some impact to him. I think it's just one of those things, Chris, you must know about this. You just go through a bad stretch every once in a while. Can't shake that monkey off your back.
Yeah, I know what that's like. I was going to follow you through the field like, a normal camera person would do. But I was watching the gaggle of cars where Joey Jatino was. It got to the point where Joey pulled down on the front stretch and said, y'all just go.
Go. He's still in the top 10 here,
Yes.
running 9th right now, but
But now, going back to what you're saying, no, I totally know how it feels. Because, you want to blame the equipment. You want to blame, maybe yourself. There's so many things you can blame, but it's like, you almost have to take a step back sometimes. And you almost have to put yourself almost in, I don't know how else to word this, rookie shoes. And what I mean by that is put yourself back in that spot where it's like, you know what, dude? Because you want to go out there and try to win the race. That's what everybody's job is in racing. But you know what? Let's get back to let's go get a top 10 finish tonight. And after this week, get a top 10. All right, now let's focus on running more in the top 10. Maybe get a top 5 next week. Get back into a rhythm of running up front. Because, yeah, Chad had 2 terrible races last week at Kansas. And sometimes that can hurt your confidence. But look what Chad's doing right now. P5. He's right in competition here. We're not even halfway yet in this race. And he's having a fantastic run. Now he's just got to put the whole thing together.
I always feel like you got to go back to basics, put away your expectations, just go out and race, have fun. One of the things I don't think a lot of people do is have fun in what they're doing. And when you have fun, you run good. That's the way I see it, right? So just come back to basics as Joey is struggling terribly. Back there, Jimmy Coleman takes evasive action, a wide sweep down underneath him out of turn number 2 to the backstretch as, well, that pit strategy, unfortunately, isn't going to play out well in this early going here. Joey Jatino.
Yeah, and he can only keep going. That's the only thing he can do right now is just keep going. But look, he's doing the right thing here. He's racing the track. He's letting the cars go by. He's like, you get you into a good spot, and then let them make the pass. And that's exactly what he did. He pulled down, and here he's going to let Nelson go by. If Beasley's careful, he'll sweep to the inside himself here and just give plenty of room. That's all you can do here. Just race the track. Take what you can take right now. Don't put a 25th place running car right now because of the tire wear and try to run top 10 speeds with it because you're going to wreck. You're going to knock the wall down. But needless to say, Joey doing a good job. A strategy, unfortunately, a little bit backfiring, but I think the longer this run goes, he'll be back in it and good to go. But right now, 55 laps complete here. Let's jump up here. The Gillenwater and Jimmy Coleman battle. This is for 14th as Coleman's going to take it. And we're going to step away for just a quick second and hear from our sponsors, 811, as you're watching the Cup Series of Sim500 from Darlington on the Captain Esports Network.
If recent storms have caused damage to your property, contact 811 before you begin your cleanup. Buried utilities around uprooted trees can make a bad situation worse if those lines are not located before digging. Electric, natural gas, and internet lines are everywhere, and knowing where they are is the safest way to start any digging project. Call North Carolina 811 by dialing 811 or by using single address ticket on nc811.org or the NC811 app.
All right, back with you. 57 laps complete, about 8 laps away from the halfway point. It's been the Mojica DeBrown show, if you will, as we jump up here to the battle for 5th. Josh Parker, who's up 20 spots, battling with Chad Coleman. That's the 5th position there. Coleman slid back a couple spots. Bentley Glazier having a good run there, 4.9 seconds back. So 2 cautions so far in this race as we've seen the typical Darlington racing.
Yeah, this has all signs, knock on wood, of a green flag run. And what that means is we start to see this conveyor belt around this racetrack. And as they go on, the cars will start slipping and sliding, but you're starting to see Pedro Mojica get into some of these back markers, drivers that didn't have a good run. Doug Roth's car is a little bit damaged from that incident earlier as Pedro slips by, coming off turn number 2. Next one out in front of him is Doug Sigmund. And Pedro now starting to get into some of these back markers as he's putting on a pretty good pace here. Just, again, smooth, able to take care of his equipment, not slipping, sliding as Doug Sigmund hits the wall on the inside there, inside your leader. Got
And
loose off the corner.
Sigmund's towed to pit road. He kept it on the apron, which is good. But you have plenty of room on the apron here. And in case you haven't heard this story, I'll share it with you. You know why the apron is so wide?
Well, they used to race on the racetrack down there before. They anticipated the banking was going to be in case they got in trouble. It wasn't until they picked up the speeds, right, that they decided to race on the banking here.
You're in the neighborhood there. You basically what it was when Darlington was built, they built the track for the bottom part, the apron, to be the racing surface, and the top part to be the apron.
Yeah.
Little did they know that, well, the opposite happened.
We've not talked, Chris, about the seams in this racetrack,
Yeah.
and they do play a role when you're driving the car. If you get that right rear on one of those seams coming up off the corner, it will step out. There's not as much traction on that slippery surface. It's bad enough as worn and gray as the surface is, abrasive, but the seams make it an extra challenge. And these drivers, as you'll note, were almost always driving and splitting the seams as they run around this racetrack, especially in the corners.
They definitely do that. And turn 4 is, I think, where they're most treacherous. And that's because you're sliding up the track here. Let's when we're on board with Tommy Ryan here. So he's running the bottom. He's going to split the seam right here, 3 and 4. You hear him baby in the pedal. But watch right here. Right there, you can get loose if you've got too many. Right there, you bobbled. So you can see, the car just kind of gets a little sideways there with the worn tires. Let's listen to here.
You also hear him going through the bumps, especially high up out of turn 3 and 4 from the center out against that wall. It's a little rough up there. Car porpoises through the bumps as you go through on the throttle. Of course, he takes the low line as soon as I say that.
That's the way it goes. I mean, he wasn't full throttle there until he was completely off the corner. That just says enough right there of what kind of tires you're sensing here. But the one thing that throws me off right now, with how careful Tommy's driving right now, look at the lap time. He's only a second off the pace of what he ran his fastest lap, which at Darlington, it's usually like 3 laps and you're a second off. We're almost 30 laps into a run here.
I think that has quite a bit to do with this car itself. This car, not as fast, doesn't have the high horsepower, but it really gets through the corners. And you're in the corners so much on this racetrack that you tend to carry a lot of speed through the corner, which keeps your lap times up.
So I want to remind you this week we will be back in action for the we're not in action for the Sunday night Grand National Series. We still get one more week off. But the Cup Series will be in Charlotte in 2 weeks time for their annual 240 race, of course. We're going to be paying tribute honoring somebody. And I know Joey and I have kind of talked a little bit about it, but I'm going to keep it kind of hush-hush until it's announced or whatever. But looking forward to that race coming up here in time as we get into Memorial Day weekend this coming weekend. So obviously it's that weekend where we think about those we've lost in battle. And obviously we at the same time thank those who are continuing to fight for this country today and even into the future. But the main thing is we think about those we've lost over the holiday. It's one of those holidays we honor, but at the same time we enjoy family time. And I don't want to use the word celebrate, but it's like the best word to use for the fact of you're out there grilling, you're enjoying yourself, watching the best race weekend, and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So, Josh Parker has
Josh Parker, yeah, that's who I'm watching too. His speed is just incredible right now.
Look inside here at Comstock coming up on the lap car of Eric Arnold. I wonder if Eric's on the same tires here. If he's done 2 wave rounds, he's probably struggling real badly in that polar bear machine.
It showed up last lap out of here, turn 4. He was sideways down on the dark part of the front stretch, chasing the car like woo, woo, woo. But he got it caught up here, and now he just pulls down and allows Josh Parker to drive through.
Tyler Dalton back here. Yeah, Tyler Dalton back here, 10th position right now. Trying to hold off Wesley Donaldson. I watched the car behind him there. Ferrari got too high into turn 1 and knocked the wall down. But one thing I'm noticing, Kevin DeBrown is all of a sudden off the pace here a lot. Like he's falling back some 3.5 seconds. Josh Parker's right there behind him, but Mojica, I don't know if it's more Mojica's pulled away or if Kevin is just slowed up. Or the answer could be just yes.
Well, here comes Parker looking underneath, and he just makes that look easy. Drives right on by. He's going to pick up that second position. He's got a car lap here. Last couple laps, and definitely one of the fastest ones on the speedways. He's come from where 26th starting spot to second.
Yeah, so he's gained a lot of spots here as Cameron Durow makes a pit stop here. Not sure if that's a scheduled stop or not. Right here at lap 71, which if so, it's 45 laps for him on a run. So this could be a scheduled stop. We'll have to keep track, but I don't know. This is where it gets tough because we're looking at tires, we're looking at the wear. It's almost like, hey, take a guess. And Durow only 14.8 on pit road. So, yeah, he obviously had that a scheduled pit stop for him. So he's going to come out with tires. But we're still doing the math here real quickly. 58 laps to go. You have to go probably another 10, 15 laps, I would think.
Unless you're banking on some sort of caution later in the race and you're trying to split the difference and gain a little track position in the middle of the forecast. Following the trains.
Eric Arnold's going to come to pit road here, which, by the way, I mentioned earlier to Pedro in the conversation as I watched Eric Arnold cut off of turn 3 in the pit road. This pit road, I will argue with anybody, is the toughest to get onto in all of racing. And I say that knowing that Dover's right up there with it, but Darlington's pit road is over on the far inside of turn 3 and 4, and I, to this day, will use turn 3 at this track to get to pit road because of how far down pit road is. You can't even see it in the camera shot that you saw there for a second, and actually Eric Arnold had bigger issues as he's jumped to pit road. What happened? Did Eric fall victim of pit road? So say right on cue. Oh no, he loses the back. Up. He's okay. Or did he speed? That's interesting. What happened there?
Just parked it.
I wonder if his GPS got lost or something. Lost signal.
I'm watching these guys run 3 and 4. I'm interested because I can never figure out the racetrack. Your leader's painting a white line down there, which is I'm finding kind of unusual. A lot of drivers don't really love the bottom in 3 and 4 in this racetrack, but Pedro, he's just hugging that lower curve all the way down, letting the car roll up, and he's really found some speed. He's running a 30.877 to a 31.055 out back for Josh Parker, and just putting a whipping on these guys. Like last week, unbelievable how good this 58 is. Trans-Service Camaro is hooked up here at a racetrack notoriously difficult to drive with no grip. He looks like he's on rails.
You've got me fooled on this one, so I don't have an answer for you because at Darlington here, we don't have like the what is the thing that iRacing tried to come out with once. They're trying to come back with it, the multi grooves. There's a term for it here, but I can't remember. It's some kind of like a engineering, if you will, but we don't have it yet in iRacing still. So everything is still technically a one groove track, and iRacing is set up to where the top groove of 3 and 4 is the way to go. As Jose Gonzalez comes to pit road for the first time in this race.
Wow. He
Dynamic
was pretty
track.
far
Thank
back,
you.
running 27th and under threat of getting lapped eventually. So I think it just made sense for him to finally cut bait and pull the.
Anthony Calatoni with the save. Dynamic track is what I was thinking of.
There you go.
So the Tabasco car comes to pit road. Don't worry, Miles. It's coming. Overshoots his pit stall a little bit. 4 tires and fuel there for the 26.
At the front windshield, Pedro has Patrick Colby right in front of him, running 26. Again, starting to get into some of these cars that struggling here tonight at Darlington.
Let's see if I can try to find a car that maybe...
Down.
All right, so Colby's going to do it. Let's jump to Colby's car here. All right, so look where he's at. That orange cone, you got to get inside of that. And then you got to get even further inside the wall there. There's an example of how tough pit road is at Darlington. He almost wrecked.
You know, there's that stripe there that takes you in, and it's so abrupt to turn left. I find myself, like you said, hugging the fence, but then when you're against the fence, you can't really find the end of the pit wall where you actually turn in. And it is, I agree with you, one of the most confusing pit roads to get in, and everybody does it a little bit differently. When you sit there and watch the cars come off, they almost universally
Kevin
juke
Brown.
the car left off the banking, slide sideways, and then
Right.
do whatever they can to carry as much speed down into that space where they can get to pit road.
The first of the leaders coming to pit road, Kevin DeBrown in the Dave Blaney throwback. Going to bring that 93, and I wonder if this will trip everybody else to pit road. We're at 81. This is about 55 laps into this run. Actually, if I do the math right, that's 45 laps, Scala.
50 to go, right? And with 50 to go, that's about the edge of a
Halfway.
tire wear.
Yeah, you're about
Right?
halfway.
Everybody else is right at about 50 in this run, right? 46 laps since we last went under green.
4 tires in fuel. Kevin pulls away. 14.9. Now, you're about to see the difference in tire wear. We're going to stick here with Kevin for a second. And yes, you see it in real life, how the car is on new tires. Oh, Brian Workman jumps to pit road. Not sure what happened to Brian. But watch Kevin go into turn 3 and 4 here. Once he gets his tires up to temp here, he's going to pass people like they're parked.
Trouble for Casey Duncan off of turn 4. Went down and slapped the left side against the wall.
Tough break for the 71.
Still soldiering on. He almost hit the Geico restart line there.
Don't do that. Kevin about wrecks
Golf
off.
goes to pit road. This opens another dynamic as we watch him come off turn 4 with rocket speed.
Hi.
You're going to run in and amongst all these cars that are slow, and you almost try to time yourself so that when you get to a car, you're going to pass them on the early part of a straightaway so you can get back to the corner and get a good entry in.
And then you get people that might mirror drive or something. Like right there, the 3 got the outside wall. I'm not sure if he was mirror driving or not, but either way, he gets the outside wall. I see Joey Jatina coming to pit road. Jose Gonzalez, 29.80 last time by the fastest car on the track and the fastest lap of the race. So he's definitely trying to get everything he can out of those tires. As here
Tree
comes...
was looking to pit, I think. That's why he was looking in a rearview mirror there and misjudged that corner.
So Jatina, Jeff Ryan, Randy Yoakum on pit road here. For Jatina, this was perfect. It went, I mean, it wasn't perfect.
Yes.
I mean, he lost track position, but he's able now to be back on the tire strategy with the leaders. As he comes in, there's just one thing you do not want to see. And it's a bottle of mustard, basically, if you will.
3 is in, the 8 is in, Benfield's in the 75. Workman back in one more time. I wondered if the 81 of Parker would close the gap at all on the 58 of Pedro, but Pedro's got 3/4 of a straightaway lead. He's in turn 3 and 4 right now, and the 81 is in that spot just now. So full corner distance lead on the 58 over the rest of the field.
Yeah, 5.7 seconds to be exact over Parker, 8.8 over Comstock, 10.5 over Bentley Glazier runs in the 4th position right now. Montesi 11 seconds back in the 5th position. Now, obviously, I don't know. This is the tricky part of the race here, because as soon as I want to say these guys are playing the long run here, they might drop the pit road, and it's like, okay, well, they're going to split this in half or whatever. So I'm just intrigued to see how far, and maybe it's a comfort thing, maybe it's a chess match here type of thing. I'm not sure. Mojica, it's almost like he can make his own bed right now with the way it's set up, with how fast he is. But Chad Coleman coming to pit road in the 38 car.
Yeah, leader's under assault right now as he just got passed by Duro. Duro just breezed right by him in his Toyota and is pulling away on the front straightaway. So an unusual sight to see Pedro get passed in the long run here, but tires will do that as he eases through turns 1 and 2 to the backstretch one more time. Still maintaining that lead that he had over Josh Parker at this point, but Parker, probably one of the drivers, Chris, is looking for a caution. Would love a shot at the short run.
Yeah, if you want to call 40 laps a short run, I agree with you. But no, Coleman makes his pit stop, and let's just put this like this: DeRozan, maybe the second car now that's past Pedro, outside of Kevin once.
Maybe, yeah.
I think Bentley Glazier's coming to pit road.
41 and has not looked back.
Glazier coming to pit road here. Darlington, one of those tracks, by the way, too, that back in its heyday had 2 pit roads. It had the front and back stretch, and much like Rockingham, it all transitioned over to the front straightaway.
I think it's time. It's feeding time at the zoo at this point. I believe we're going to start to see everybody coming at this juncture. Once some of the cars drop off, everybody knows how much speed they're going to have into the end of the race. What they're worried about is if they pit early and a caution comes out, they're going to get caught one lap down.
At least, if not 2. As Dory Woods is on pit road, Bentley Glazier, Beasley, Wesley Donaldson. If I'm Pedro, I'm waiting. I mean, Josh Parker's your card. As soon as Josh comes to pit road...
Pedro's in. He's pulling in.
All righty then. Well, Parker almost needs it. Yeah, Parker's coming in right behind him. I see a blue car down on the apron over there.
I actually think this is the right call. If you've been the fastest car and you have that much speed, make them chase you. Get in, get fresh tires. If you're as fast as you are, unless you encounter some problems, you basically are staying in control of the race.
Let me play devil's advocate here and throw this scenario at you and see what you think. So, if you're Pedro, why do you not wait for Josh to come to pit road, knowing that you've got a 6-second lead? So that's at least 2 laps, I would say, time-wise, that Parker could run out there before you come to pit road and get tires here, because I feel like maybe you're risking yourself here with Comstock, Dalton, Rivera, Ryan, Leah, all these guys have not come to pit road yet, and something happening. Let me throw that out. Would that
I'm going to go the opposite direction. Okay. Give me the best tires now. I'll run so fast to the end of this race, you won't be able to catch me.
I'm good with that. I'm just trying to,
Because everybody else, what's the best they could do? When they pit behind you, they're going to have fresh tires and less time to use them. So
okay, I'm good with that. No, I'm good with either strategy. I just was more of like throwing both scenarios out there right now and see what can happen. But Tyler Dalton, who just got passed by Pedro, is the leader of this race. And Pedro is currently a lap down. And you see Kevin DeBrown. I wonder if that's who Pedro maybe was watching time-wise, because Kevin's right here in front of Pedro now.
Tyler becomes the 7th different leader, and by far the guy who's led the most laps is Pedro, as he's had everybody covered. He decks down underneath Kevin DeBrown and is going to take over that track position. Is Tyler Dalton going to give up the lead here and come to pit road for service on lap 96?
Good time to think about Tyler and his pit stops. Last week at Kansas, he was not a fan of the police department out there, as he got caught twice in one race speed, or not in one race speeding, but in one weekend
Tommy Ryan going to pick up the lead here for a short stint in the number 99.
Yep, Donnie Leah still yet to pit, so is Charles Van Schaik. Pretty much everyone else has been to pit road. As we come up on 33 laps to go now. Rip Tommy's tires. Almost 3 seconds off the pace now.
Pedro's led 69 laps so far of this event. The only one close to him is Kevin DeBrown with 22.
Sorry, Donnie Lee about ran over Tommy Ryan, who about hit the barrels. Donnie's probably like,
Now, case in point here, Tommy Ryan ran 3 or 4 more laps on old tires. Now he's going to have fresh tires, but he'll have less laps to use them to the end of the race. So,
oh, and now he almost takes the inside wall with him.
back up a little bit.
Oh, he's got to do more than that. He needs to go to the right.
Oh,
There
wow.
you go. Yeah.
Come on. There we go.
If he's got the
Little to the left, little to the right, no, left, no. Okay, here we go.
I don't know if he's got the same app that I have. I know a lot of people from back in a previous league that some of these guys like Tommy and Tyler ran in. I got an app from them too, and one of the guys in the league, he literally will yell at you in the app on pit road. He's like, "Go to the right, you're too far right. Go to the left, you're too far." What?
I've got that, and he's just like freaking. You're like, "Give me a minute. I'm trying to figure it out."
The voice
Yeah,
of Brian, the voice of Brian Yazik. Donnie Lee on pit road.
Donnie Lee here, lap 100, so he made it to 100.
Charles Van Schaik leading some laps here now, so. So tires and fuel for the 29. That's going to hand the lead, like I said, to Van Schaik, who's got about 12 seconds on Pedro Mojica. And then Pedro's going to have about 2 seconds on Kevin DeBrown, Josh Parker, Bentley Glazier, Chad Coleman will be your top 5. Let's jump back here to the 10th, 11th, and 12th place battle as Cameron DeRoe, who was the earliest on pit road, pitted at lap 69, so he's got the oldest tires of the bunch. That is him in that money line number 45 car. As he's got Richard Beasley. I haven't heard from Beasley's people, by the way, tonight. And Montesi there to his inside.
I'll tell you what's going to be interesting is to see how many laps Charles Van Schaik can go. I like his strategy. If he could run this all the way out,
See, I don't know if fuel
and he
runs-
gets a caution, then he's out front, and everybody has to pit. You're going to go take tires, even if you've run 5, 6, 7 laps since you've come in. So, this is an interesting gamble that he's playing right now, staying out here. I just wonder how far he can go. He's 65 laps on this run. We thought it was 60-ish and change, and he's put in 65 laps on the board. I don't know, when your car is so hard to handle, you tend to squeeze out of the throttle. You can eke a little more mileage out of it, but how many laps do you think he can run this thing?
That's a great question. Let me add one thing to that too. He would have an extra set of tires on the field.
Yes. Yeah,
So
that's what I'm saying. It's not
yeah.
a terrible strategy to
No.
run this till he's on
Do
vapors.
something different. Now, the one thing I will say is Charles was one of the cars last week that blew a right front tire at Kansas.
Well, the bigger problem is if you do pit, you really dug yourself a grave, because in that context, you're going to be slow on these long runs, which we were talking about earlier, and you're going to be a lap down at least because the leader is coming up behind you pretty quickly here. 5
Yes.
seconds back.
Pedro's about a second and a half faster than Van Schaik right now. So Pedro's tires are starting to come back to Charles. You wonder, now I watched Tommy run 32s. I wonder if Charles's tires are starting to kind of plateau, if you will. But Pedro just ran a 36, so he's about a second and a half. Yeah, it's about a second and a half difference, so you should catch him in the next 2 or 3 laps. As there goes Stoney making the pass.
I think I just saw a Big Mac wrapper coming out looking for debris caution or something.
He's throwing a Happy Meal toys is what he's throwing out there.
Happy Meal out the side window.
Oh, Stoney getting up there, getting a stripe.
Well, I think one of the more interesting rotations of this is how did this play out? Pedro's out. If we take Van Schaik out of the equation, barring a caution in the next few moments, Pedro is 4 seconds ahead of Kevin DeBrown, who's lockstep with Josh Parker. So how did Kevin DeBrown parlay this into being in the mix in the late run? I didn't quite catch that strategy, but Kevin's
Caution!
and there was
Caution!
A caution.
Oh my God!
How about that? Oh, big crash back here.
Duro. Yeah, Duro and one of the 811 cars.
Oh my gosh, look at that. That is a story for Charles Van Schaik.
Wow.
69 laps on fuel. The question is, will he make pit road? 70 laps as he crosses the line. He's got to be clutching the car and trying to save fuel here. That's an incredible story for that 23. What a turn of events.
The answer to your question, by the way, Kevin DeBrown pitted at lap 80, which was about 10 to 12 laps earlier than Pedro and Josh. That's how he stole that track position.
There you go, Steve.
Yeah, Chad Coleman with the early pit stop. He moved up to 8th. Yeah, and I think the guys that obviously hurt the most out of this, if you will, Donnie Lee at 23rd. Tommy Ryan was in the top 5, 24th now. So those guys are actually going to be a lap down. I want to say, looking at everything, that Ron Holyfield is going to get the lucky dog.
Van Schaik to pit road, right behind him, Pedro Mojica. So this is what we were talking about earlier. If you play the strategy, play the trends of the race, Kevin pitted earlier. He ran faster for a period of time. He was not in a good position if the laps were on, but a caution late puts him right in the ballpark with track position. He parlayed that perfectly here as Pedro goes all the way down the other end to try and find his pit
Scott
box.
Simley stays out. One thing I do want to point out, though, and it's something that's caught my eye out of the right side. Anybody notice this track temp over here? It is dropping really quickly. We've gone from about 127, 126 down to 114. I think we've had some cloud cover come in. Hence why I've kind of put that up on the screen to let it play a role here. Race off pit road going to go to Mojica. What is going on with Charles?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He's still here. 43 seconds.
Wonder if he had some damage he wanted to take care of, maybe?
Or
Just figuring he kept himself in the play, but...
Did he eat a quarter pounder or something on pit road?
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Oh, boy. All right, let's step away for a quick second here. Hear from our sponsors, 811, as you're watching the Captain Esports Network in the Sim500 Cup Series.
If recent storms have caused damage to your property, contact 811 before you begin your cleanup. Buried utilities around uprooted trees can make a bad situation worse if those lines are not located before digging. Electric, natural gas, and internet lines are everywhere, and knowing where they are is the safest way to start any digging project. Call North Carolina 811 by dialing 811 or by using single address ticket on nc811.org or the NC811 app.
All right, back we are here at Darlington. And we've got some interesting strategery going on in the NC811.org Cup Series. Third caution out. So let's go back and take a look at what happened. Cameron Duro, and I believe it was the 3 car of Jeff Ryan that got damage in the accident, which ended up being a perfect break for Charles Van Schaik. Now, for those wondering what happened to Charles Van Schaik, there's just that time period when nature calls and you got to do things.
Uh-huh.
I totally understand. Let's just leave it at that. All right, let's go see what happened here. So here's Jeff Ryan in the 3 car. Cameron's up ahead, I believe. Oh, wow.
Just hit the outside wall and bounced across.
Cameron, wow. He hit that wall a ton.
New model shows all the parts spewing all over the. You didn't need wrappers. You got front bumpers and fenders and other things.
You know what? He hit the outside wall. He missed the angle into the corner. Hits the outside wall. Then he does his best 1970 Richard Petty impersonation, minus the flipping and the invention of the window net later. Yes, that was direct, by the way. That invented the window net. So watch, Cameron misses the apex here, and that's where, I mean, he's way too up there. And there's the wall, and right about there is where Richard Petty, it's like the one wreck in history that actually beat the wall. And you see Yoakum got in the back of somebody right there. Was that Stoney?
So just about all the field has 4 laps under caution on their tires, except for Scott Simley, who has 18. And unfortunately for Scott, he watches the 58 of Mojica go by him.
Parker Montesi in the inside wall.
Ooh.
And more cars scrambling at... Oh, no, Van Schaik and Stoney and Gonzalez. Charles was really going to wish he didn't go to the bathroom.
I think that's just a byproduct of trying to hold the car down for Montesi down there on the bottom, making sure he didn't slide up into the 19 with the 81 getting a run.
Now, in fairness to Charles, he did say, by the way, he felt he didn't belong up there.
Missing the stream there, Chris, by the way.
What happened?
Lost the stream from you there. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, because I missed the channel. That's why. Okay, yeah. Wow, they hit right there in turn 2. For those curious, I did win commercial. I went down and talked to Charles. That's why you hear. One of these days, I'm going to take the viewers behind the scenes of the broadcast. I do that sometimes. All right, so... yeah, it was just unfortunate Darlington Racing right there. I mean, it's one of those you see... Montesi running tight there on Tyler, and here they come into turn 2. You saw Simile lose the lead to Pedro. And I timed it perfect, by the way, getting back at the restart.
Yeah.
And
teammates here, right? Trying to make sure that they stay off of each other. The 6 and the 19.
Yeah, and I think Montesi just comes out of the gas. Parker gets a better run.
Big hits for both of them, right on the nose of the car. At least they didn't hit the wheels, but definitely some severe damage to both automobiles.
And Parker comes back up the track, and Charles, nice miss by Joey.
Well, that was a solid wrap there. Good evasive action there by Donnie Leah.
Stoney comes in there, and Jose's like, let me add some hot sauce to this.
That's one of those killer blows to that right rear for the 23. So 0 from hero to 0 in just a couple corners, right? There's debris flying in the background there.
Where is that? Yeah, where's that front end going? Or the right side, whatever that piece is. It's
I think it's a front fender.
Yeah, it's a fender of one of the tires. That's off the 81, I think.
Well, we talked about how much of a tank these cars are as you see them pull in. They're able to go in and get some repairs. I don't know how cars will, but as big as some of those hits were over there, these cars take a licking and keep on ticking.
I don't know about Charles's car. That thing there, the right front is facing me right now. Like yeah, I was gonna say Charles is having issues here.
Can't even drive it down the backstretch.
I mean, in fairness, maybe he's trying to straighten out the toe on it. And I mean, I don't blame him.
That is what it feels like too. You go down and you're like, oh.
Go up and smack the outside wall with the right side. He might straighten it back out. Who knows?
You might say, why did he pull back out? Actually, he was trying to stay on the lead lap.
Right.
Figured he'd get just a little bit damaged, hustle the car back, get a little more fixed. But unfortunately for him, injury to insult there.
You don't know until you get out there how much damage you really have, unless you actually jump out of the car and take a look while you're sitting there on pit road. So Like, if you don't have somebody sitting there and be like, dude, your right front is facing like 90 degrees, then how you gonna know?
Ron Hollifield exiting pit road after getting a little bit of service in the NC811.org Camaro. First time we talked to his name, he's currently running 21st right now, looking to see what he can get out of this event.
He got himself a nice, shiny little upgrade, it looked like. I saw in a photo today. Either that or he just worked on his setup there. All right, so Pedro going to take the bottom here, which tells me he's more worried about Kevin than Tyler speed-wise. Because in that case, you would go to the top and put the slower car to block Tyler. So in this case, he's got the slower car up ahead of Kevin.
I think he's just been a bottom feeder all night long, and
And
probably
maybe
prefers to get that head start down into turn number 1 where he can charge the corner from the bottom, let the thing eat, so to speak, drive it up out of turn 2 to the backstretch and say sayonara. And I'll tell you, that car is fast tonight.
And we're about to see 14 laps to go, and we'll do it for a quick lap for my man Miles. He asked me to do it. So real quickly, one lap, frontstretch.com. Let's turn it up. All right, we tried it. And unfortunately, caution's back out. They wrecked off the back. Doy Woods was doing a pretty much turn 1 and 2 drift. Thanks to frontstretch.com, by the way, for sponsoring that. And make sure you go check out their YouTube page. They actually had a collection of interviews yesterday after the All-Star race with some crew chiefs about the All-Star race. You can go check that out on the YouTube page and more. So let's go back. I saw Wesley Donaldson. I about to Davidson for some reason. Wesley Davidson going around.
Donaldson,
Davidson, Danielson. Charles Van Schaik's out here still trying. All right, let's go back and see. Scott Simley's coming to pit road here, so maybe Scott just trying to get some newer tires to use here. But Tommy Ryan looks like getting some damage in this also. There's Doy drifting. And then Doy tries drifting again.
Gillen Water got a piece of that. That actually probably helped Doy.
Yeah, and there's Tommy, Gillen Water, as you mentioned.
How about that job by Doy Woods to save that car?
Right?
That was astonishing. I mean, he did slap the inside wall and miss that whole thing, but he just glanced off of it versus getting killed over there on the backstretch. So,
Oh, I see now. So it looks like the 18 got loose off of 2. It was very tight already because they had actually went 3 wide with the 12 right here. You're going to see
right,
Kevin and Comstock go
back
3, and it kind of backs him up a little bit. Glazier thought about it, and then he gets out of it a little bit, and then right there just kind of loses the back end as Doy's still trying to catch it. He hits the inside wall back there.
Say what you want about what Doy did. I've done that and
That's
got
impressive.
loose on the second spin, and instead of going left, I've come
Go
up right
right.
in front of the entire field and crashed everybody. So
I actually did that in an NIS race, and I hate to tell you who the car was that was behind me.
yeah,
It was the leader. Because I was going a lap down, and I made that move, and I was like, oh. Needless to say, I had an angry Russian gentleman.
I bet. Well, we got 11 laps to go here. I just wonder if anybody is going to be able to mount the charge here, as this race has changed and it's stacked everybody right behind the leaders. And with 12 laps on their tires, will anybody go? I don't think they're going to do it.
Well, Simley went to pit road, so he's got tires now. He's going to restart, it looks like, back in 20th. But I think we're in that situation now, kind of like Kansas last week, where cautions breed cautions.
Right.
People are going to go for it. And unfortunately, I think it's going to come to a point where people might judge a little bit off this, but I don't care. It's great racing. So, it's Darlington.
Rack 'em, stack 'em, and pack 'em. Let's go.
And
We're
then
going
rack-
to see it again here. I mean, this is what we want. We want them to charge. We want somebody to try and win from 8th. We want to see amazing moves. And yeah, they're going to come together. I think the wild card in that stack was the 12, as you said, Chris, just kind of bottled everybody up. And you really can't get 2 and 3 wide off of turn 2 at this racetrack. It's going to be a recipe for trouble. But this time, I think we're pretty even all the way back. The first car with new tires, Jose Gonzalez, running in 11th, has 5, 6, 7 lap fresher tires. It's a interesting thing to see if he could do something with that.
As we're at 1 to green, and by the way, frontstretch.com, I just mentioned real quickly, just saw in about the last hour or so, they've just posted on the website, in case you didn't know, if you're an Indy fan, there was a wreck today in Indianapolis with Stephen Wilson. Wilson, unfortunately, has looks like suffered a fracture of a vertebrae in his neck. So he's not going to race, which means they need a replacement. It's just weird how racing goes sometimes.
It is.
Obviously, Dreyer and Reinbold have not named a replacement, but I know somebody.
Best weekend in racing.
Yes.
No doubt. Mojica, Dalton, Brown, Comstock, Coleman, Chad Coleman, Jimmy Coleman, Glazer, Rivera, Beasley, Friery. They're your top 10 as we drop the green one more time. 21 with 10 to go.
Spinning the tires. Well, Mojica and Dalton were leaning on each other just now. And Mojica got a great start, moved to the left there. Kevin DeBrown clears. Here's Comstock as
Somebody's
Chad
down
Coleman's
there low.
down near Florence as Friery knocks the wall down. Glazier gets loose. Another car gets turned. Ron Holyfield, and that brings the caution out.
Yeah, similar circumstance to last time. Saw 2 of the same complexions. One car loose down on the apron trying to save the thing, and another car comes up, bangs the outside wall, and turns sideways, drawing a caution. Typically when they slide down off the racetrack there, Chris, they don't draw their caution, but when they come in contact with other cars, turn sideways, that will create the yellow that we're looking at. Number 6 on the evening.
Looks like Holyfield officially gets, if you will, triggered with the caution right there. Did you see Glazier was sideways there? He gets hit by Gillenwater. And that's what triggers the caution, if you will. But obviously this started up ahead. And the first thing I saw was the 38 go spinning almost. And then 77 literally chastains the outside wall. And looks like, did the 8 get into Holyfield?
That's one of those just two cars trying to share the same racetrack off the corner. I really don't feel like...
Nobody, I can't say like somebody did something wrong there or anything. Circumstances.
We talk about how on edge you are. There's no other racetrack, I believe, other than Darlington when you come off that corner where the car is physically on the edge. You could blow on it and it would slide it sideways. It takes ever so slightly a glance, and that's all that really was. Kudos to Ron for holding on to the car as good as he did and not taking half the field with him. Anybody that was behind him, it's a little frustrating, I'm sure, as that can be the case here at Darlington, but he's going to drive away and come back in and try and salvage some kind of finish.
So as we come to 6 laps to go, we're working our way towards Sim500 overtime here, potentially.
Tell you who this hurts. This is not good news for Jose Gonzalez. He had to the laps to take advantage of them. Well, everybody else is carrying their older tires here under caution and evening things up here.
Same for Scott Simley, too, who came to pit road there, as he is up to the 19th position right now. But, well, and Gonzalez also has that damage that he had fixed up. I'm not sure how much he got fixed. I see the 23 of Van Schijk keeps going to pit road and getting that tire straightened out. So, I mean, they got plenty of time to do it. I mean, even if it don't get straightened out, just go out there and run a couple laps. You'll start passing people here that are off the track. I mean, Josh Parker's out. Yeah, Van Schijk's 24th now, so.
Tell you what, the driver in the catbird seat, and it all comes back to what you had said earlier. That pit stop on lap 81 for Kevin DeBrown, 10 laps earlier than everybody else, gained him a lot of track position, and then the caution fell the right way. Now he's in play for a podium and the potential for a win here. You know he is going to want to get this. He wasn't in the field last week, but tonight he could come away with a victory here over one of the hottest drivers in the series, Pedro Mojica. With just a handful of laps, you know he's going to be up on the wheel.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see what Kevin does here. And, you know, he would want to win. I believe Kevin lives in South Carolina.
Yeah, when it comes to the short run, like we were talking about earlier, a couple of these drivers I would not want to be out the right side window. And he and Josh Parker and maybe Justin Fuller and a couple others are in that camp. And if I'm Pedro, I'm just going to look out that front wheel, mat the throttle, and try and beat him off of turn number 2 and then cover my ground to the finish.
Ignore the sweeps Kansas part on the screen there. I usually edit that after the race. But, yeah, Greer, South Carolina is the home of Kevin DeBrown. So this would be a home win for Kevin in that 93 if he could do so. We'll have to see when it's all said and done. They come down the back straightaway here.
Cleaning the tires, wiggling back and forth, getting a little heat, trying to find whatever traction they can for when they stomp on the gas here. Is 5 to go as they come in the pit car, pace car about to make that left-hand turn.
Now Pedro got a little loose when he cranked it the last time. Let's see.
Good restart that time. He's going to jump ahead of them as now the contention is for second with Comstock right underneath DeBrown. Comstock going to sleep down underneath.
Here comes Nelson Rivera topside trying to clear Jimmy Coleman. He will off turn 2. Everybody good off 2. Oh, no, they're not. Frary's in the wall. Chad Coleman's hooked with Glazier. And caution's coming not out.
No,
We're staying green.
no.
So nobody spun back on the track.
Kevin DeBrown got to the outside of Comstock for second. Comstock kept his foot in it somehow, found the grip he needed over in turn 3 and 4 and drove out from underneath him. He's in second, but Brown is right on his bumpers. They come off. He's going to look down underneath. Now he's going to pull back up, push him almost into turn 3 as Pedro has 1 car length, maybe 3/4 car length lead. Again, down on that bottom line out of turn number. Covering these guys so far as we come back to 2 to go.
2 laps to go. Does anybody... now caution is out. Caution and Bob Gillenwater, I believe, is involved. This is actually a big wreck. Yoakum, Donaldson, Doy Woods, and others. And we are going to have Sim500 overtime for a second straight week.
I think that's just somebody getting in out of turn 4 trying to chase a...
A whole lot of argy-bargy going on here. This actually all starts back on the restart. Let's go back to that really quickly because there was a lot of action. Let's just go back to the green flag here and watch them. Because I saw the 91 get loose, it looks like here. Let's see.
I'll tell you, this late in the race, when you're charging hard off of turn number 4, it's easy to have the step out.
Oh, right there, Robert Frary gets turned around. There's Coleman stuck against Glazier. Simley into the inside wall. Yeah, nobody really wrecks. Coleman's still trying to save early here. Then they go into 3 and 4.
That was crazy.
And they finish off what they were trying the first time.
Donnie slid down here and he comes up against the 75. And then they run side by side for the lap. Somebody comes up, who's that behind them? And tags the back of the 75. down the backstretch here.
Oh, Yoakum there gets into the back of the 75.
But if you watch the 75, he's just trying to hustle the car. He's got no air on the left side. Out of turn number 4, the car just does a little juke to the left.
And bam.
And that's it. It catches the rear quarter panel. And again, this is what I'm saying is, when you come off turn 4, normally you leave the out until you get straight, but at the end of the race, you're going to try and squeeze a little more out of it. And it's just a byproduct of hard racing.
So caution out, we'll go to overtime here. And while we do that, I can't remember if I did this or not tonight. So, hey, let's show the point standings, by the way, as we entered tonight's race. Pedro Mojica leading by 44 over Chad Coleman. Mike Kelly, who's not here tonight, third in points. David Comstock, fourth. But remember, it's 20 cars that make the playoffs here. So all the way down to Jose Gonzalez right now. Jose runs in the 7th position. Is your bubble guy right now. Van Schaik all the way down in 24th. Obviously, he's got some work to do there. Kevin DeBrown trying to work his way back up. Cal and Tony. But again, the one thing you have to watch is the number of races you can miss. There is a certain amount of races you must start to go to the playoffs. Last year, I bring up Nelson Rivera again. I think it was by 1 or 2 races in the end. Missed the playoffs because of not starting enough races, though he was in the top 20 in points. So, hey, by the way, coming up Wednesday, the Trans-Service Truck Series in action from Daytona. They actually announced Daytona. They actually announced a new broadcast partner, by the way, and I want to be one of the first to welcome the partners in from. I'm going down to the race page myself. I'm over here in Discord right now. The All-Star 15 TV. So
Coming to race with us, Chris?
Maybe. AJ Capola, by the way, is going to be broadcasting that race. Facebook.com/Allstar15TV is how you can find them. And, Kev, let's just say there's a new rookie in the league this year.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
There might or might not be a number 5 truck out there.
Okay, cool. I think I'm going to put together a new paint scheme for tonight. But right now,
I've actually
I'm
got
just
somebody who's
amazement of Pedro. You know, it is so hard. These guys have had so many shots at him here. 7 cautions late in his race to wrestle this away. And now he's got a new front fender off to his right here with the Monster Energy number 13. Comstock sitting to his outside. And he's got the hard charger. And I really feel like the bottom line is the place to be. So not only is he have somebody who would love to have a win, and David Comstock and join the party of 2 wins season for these guys, but he also has Kevin DeBrown now to his bottom. And don't forget Tyler Dalton sitting back there looking to take any opportunity he can get.
One thing I was watching here really closely, watch the tires and look where the seam is. I think that could be playing a role in these restarts here. Tyler gets into the back of Comstock. Slow start there, and Kevin DeBrown with a good start, giving the bumper to Pedro. Here comes Rivera. Here comes Beasley. Side by side into one. Comstock's got the groove here.
They're going to go through wide
no,
here. Maybe
Kevin
and
puts
Comstock gets a
Comstock.
right-hand turn.
Yeah, he put himself in the wall to, you know what? That was kind of a nerve-wracking way in the back, by the way. That was I want to call that a classy move on Comstock's part. Because if he does not save that car or hang it, whatever that word is, hang it to the right, he probably takes Pedro out.
We're going to go to overtime number 2 here as Pedro once again. I do believe the 13 is disappointed in.
I know that sounds probably like stupid what I just said, but let's watch this and you're going to see what I'm talking about. Comstock gets loose right here. And, okay, I'm going to hit stop right now. He can hang a left right now or try to save it and the car goes left and takes Pedro out. But instead, he probably locks the car right and throws himself in the wall.
Yeah, the bad news is they were going to go 3 wide too.
Yeah,
That would
I was
probably not have worked out.
I was hoping Kevin wouldn't do that. But
You
here's
have
where
to
the
wonder if Comstock was just a little too high. Had that right rear up in the gray area. Just not a lot of grip up there. And but I think that's just a byproduct of hard racing. You're running for the win.
Oh,
Ashamed of that move. Who was that sideways there?
Ron Holyfield. Well, it kind of cleaned out Frary. It was just they checked up and Ron went in there. And unfortunately, Wesley was there, and well, they finally wrecked.
I wonder if Ron didn't anticipate the 77 turning down in the corner there.
With the checkup, yeah. All right, so this is it. The last restart we're going to have.
We didn't mention how narrow this racetrack is.
Oh, by the way.
But I mean, you can almost go back and look at everyone, and you're that tight to the door of somebody else in front of you. This is just a byproduct of the style of racing that comes of that, right? And,
Right.
you know, also, you got to give a tip of the cap to Bentley Glazer. He got sideways there out of turn 2, watching what Comstock was going on. And, you know, he had no choice but to hang it left so that Donnie Leah would have a pathway and not collect them all. So,
Right. No, I agree 100% there. So the next time these cars will be on track, by the way, is coming up June 5th. So it's a week from Monday. We'll have next Monday off for Memorial Day. And then the 240 miler at Charlotte, 160 laps. That'll be coming up here on June 5th. And, of course, the day before, it'll be the NC811 Grand National Series that will be on track. So this actually, as I think about it, is the last league broadcast I have until
well,
next Sunday, or following Sunday. So I actually get a little vacation time. Now, I'll probably be streaming here and there, but when it comes to league racing,
I have to say I love the fact that they put 240 laps in that. Miles.
we don't want
Whatever. It's a long race.
It's a long
and
race.
that's what I mean. And I just, you know, when you run Charlotte, for a period of time, you can run pretty hard. You don't have to worry, whatever. But eventually the tire fall off brings the driver to the
Yeah.
forefront. And that, like this track, it's a, you know, we talked about last week, we talked about this week, different racetracks that reward the technical driver.
Yeah.
Long runs at Charlotte bring that out. Tire wear, tire conservation, enter the corner, when you pick up the throttle, how you draft, your pit strategy, all that's going to come into play in a longer race. And I love the fact that chosen to have so many miles in that event. That's going to be a blast.
Out of all my long distance races, that's probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
And it's the one that's been yanked away from me many times.
This
And
one, I like Darlington.
Darlington was fun. I finished third last year in the 500 here. But we'll see. I'm actually going to go ahead and put it out there. Thursday night, I'm probably going to be running the 600. So for those who might be interested in come watching, I'll probably put the stream up. So just curious to let everybody know. As we come back to the green here, green, white checkers, Sim500 overtime. Attempt number 2. This is it. We don't make it, then the race is over.
For some of these guys, it's get back to the checkered flag. For others, it's an opportunity at the potential for a win. Pedro leads them back into turn number 1. Gets an amazing jump. This time, nobody to his outside.
Nelson with a good jump there inside. There's Beasley up to 4th.
Is that a throwback? 10?
Maybe. Slightly. Throwback to himself driving Ricky Rudd's car.
Cleaning green down the back straightaway. Pedro has about a car and a half length lead out of turn number 4. Kevin DeBrown hard charging in. Right. White flag in the air. 2 car lengths. Ken Brown track him down.
He's going to try as we're under the white flag here. Rivera under attack back there from Jose Gonzalez down the backstretch. Dalton just got the outside wall, it looks like.
He's got a good run into 3. He's going to run it right up against the fence.
He's going for the Chastain. It didn't work. Back-to-back wins for Pedro Mojica, third of the season, and he wins at Darlington. And they're wrecking in the back.
How about that run for Richard Beasley coming through and capitalizing on that late race to get himself a podium spot? Good run for Nelson Rivera after some incidents. And look who's in fifth.
Yeah, Jose, yeah.
How about the tire wear did pay off for him, right? Because he had fresh tires, and because we had double overtime, he was able to parlay that into a top 5 up there.
Now, I'm not sure if it's actually happening. We might be having some slight technical issues. I noticed that the ticker was kind of blinking in and out, and I'm looking down at my stream is kind of in red right now, so I'm not sure if there's hopefully not an internet issue coming into the Scala household all of a sudden here. But, yeah. We'll try to get through this real quickly. Pedro's celebrating. I'm going to keep an eye out down there, but just want to go ahead and let the fans know in advance that in case something were to happen. The good news is we got the race in.
Picked up the win at Texas, picked up the win at Kansas, and now he becomes the first 3-time winner of the season. Pedro burns it down on the front straightaway. And yeah, Trans Service, they picked a good one this year, as he is putting it to him so far in the early season here at Sim500.
And how weird is that, you know, we just a couple weeks ago were like, when's Pedro going to win? And now he's the first 3-time winner.
We had all those seconds piling up there. So just an incredible season he's putting in.
Absolutely. As we'll let the timing and scoring go across the top of the screen, and we'll try to get through some interviews here. And I'm going to keep an eye on things as hopefully we can keep the stream up to get through at least the top 3 here real quickly, just in case. I do know there are times, it seems to happen more later at night, that I will lose the internet at times or something, but it's very scarce. So hopefully it's nothing major. But let's get through. We'll talk through the top 3 here. And that starts with our third place finisher, Richard Beasley. The 2021 Super Speedway Series.
You're finding.
Oh, there he is.
While you're finding Richard, let me say this. If I look at the season that Pedro's put together, it's incredible. 24th at Phoenix, 21st at Daytona, top 10 in every event, 3 wins, 3 seconds, 2 thirds, a 5th, a 4th. I mean, just astonishing record so far this year for our winner tonight. Incredible season he's putting together.
And that's how you do it, consistency. And speaking of consistency, as I referenced, the 2021 Super Speedway champion, Richard Beasley, gets the top 3 finish. First off, Beasley, where's your people at?
Oh, man, I don't know. They didn't show up tonight?
Well, I mean, one person towards the end, but I'm like, man, where's the Beasley fan club?
I know. They missed a good show.
They usually scoop my numbers up a little bit. Just saying. Good spike.
Yeah,
But
I'll have to find out.
it's all good, man. Hey, great top 3 finish there at Darlington. I know the finish was a little rough there as everybody was trying to win a race. Nothing wrong with that, but some great racing during the meat of it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a fun race. In the beginning, I kind of dropped to the back to try to stay out of trouble, save my tires. Tires never really came into play because we had the cautions there at the end, but I mean, luckily I was able to get good track position by pitting early, and then the caution came out, so I was able to get fresh tires and stayed right around top 15 or so, top 10, and then, at the end, they just started taking each other out one at a time, worked my way up, stayed out of trouble, and just held on.
Talk about what kind of finish you needed here, because obviously it's been an on and off season for you. You've had a couple of good runs here, but getting this top 3, is this maybe a stretch where we get Beasley on a run here?
Yeah, I hope so. I got some good tracks coming up. I like Charlotte. That's always been a good track for me. I know we had a few good runs going a few weeks ago, and something would happen at the end. That's what I was waiting on tonight. I was waiting on that other shoe to drop, but it never did, and we, finally held it together and had a good finish.
Well, it's a great job on your part, obviously, in the old Tide ride to get a top 3 here, and even kind of the old school Tide ride to put on track here. That had to be kind of cool.
Yeah, it was cool. 1996 throwback there.
96, that would be, let's see, he got a win at, don't tell me. Was that a Martinsville win? Rockingham. Yes.
Yep.
I immediately thought about the Martinsville race where he couldn't even stand up when he got out of the car.
That was 98.
Yeah, I was close. But,
You're close. You're close.
yeah, but hey, close only counts in, counts in certain things. But, hey, great job. Shout out to whoever you like to.
I want to shout out to everybody down in team name. You know, some of those guys had some tough nights. Chad, Donnie, Kevin DeBrown, he had a good run. Pedro, good run, obviously, good win. Doy got knocked out early. Josh got knocked out. All those guys. You guys up in the booth here doing a great job every week. 811 call before you dig. Got to thank those guys and everybody else over here at Sim500, Joey Gatina, and all the boys up there running the show.
There you go, man. Well, hey, great job. Congratulations on your top 3. We will see you here in 2 weeks at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, I believe, for the Cup Series.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. I'll be there.
Absolutely. Sounds good. All right, Richard Beasley finishing in the top 3. Looks like everything else has straightened itself out here, so we can talk to our second place finisher as Mr. England is going to talk with the hometown boy, who might be a little disappointed, but probably happy at the same time here. So let's go get Kevin here and talk to the South Carolinian, or whatever they're called.
There he is, Kevin DeBrown, second place finisher tonight. Kevin, you had a couple shots at Pedro. Get him here in those final couple restarts.
Yeah, I definitely think we had a good short run car, but the long run we weren't as good as Pedro. Pedro's a master at saving those tires, and I tried getting behind him and pay attention to what he's doing, but God, Pedro's just so good.
Still gonna have a smile. Second place finish at Darlington. There was a little curricular activity at the end, but we want to go back to your lap number 81 pit stop that gave you quite a bit of track position. At one point we said, where did he come from? Your strategy played out perfectly.
For once, yeah. Usually when I pit early, it ended up biting me in the butt. But yeah, honestly, I probably could have been a little bit ahead or in front of Pedro a little bit more. But getting past through everybody through traffic is just so hard at this track. And you know, luckily enough that caution came out, because I think we probably would have been maybe top 5 or maybe top 10 out of that.
Well, whatever happened, the second place finish to Pedro, who's the hottest driver on the circuit, arguably. Not a bad night's work. And sporting an amazing paint scheme. Great pick for tonight's throwback here at Darlington.
Thanks. I went on train paint probably like 30 minutes before the race started, and I was like, there's not many people that drive 93 in the Cup Series, so who I'm going to play? Oh, Dave Blaney. So it ended up working out.
Yeah, really enjoyed the memories that brought back. At this racetrack, talk a little bit about tire wear and just how the car felt out there and the conditions that you had this evening.
Well, it was funny because usually you want to be in clean air at most tracks, but at this track I don't think you wanted to be in clean air. I passed Pedro there at the beginning, and then I thought I was clean selling, but I was telling Pedro, I'm like, I'm loose. Are you as loose as me? He's like, nah, I'm fine. I'm good. And apparently, you know, him being in my dirty air just tightened up all he needed, and he was able to pass me, and I felt it for that 1 second that I was behind him, and then he just took off. So, I mean, I think the place to be was definitely in second for the long run, and then as the tires come in, you know, take off.
Well, we know, sitting here in the booth, having run this racetrack, that it's probably one of the trickiest on the circuit to get on the pit road, get off of pit road, to navigate the restarts, to, you know, have good long run speed, good short run speed. It takes the full package if you're going to end up in the top 5 in a second place finish tonight. You got to be happy with that. You want to give a shout out to anybody?
Yeah. Well, I was about to thank Chris Caboo, but he didn't paint this paint scheme. Usually I have the same thing going on, but yeah, I just like to think you guys have put on, you know, a good show. I can't wait. I always like watching the broadcast. I watched it last week when I wasn't here. I was on vacation, so y'all put on a great show then, and I can't wait to watch it now.
This is a hometown track for you, yeah?
Yeah, I actually went to Darlington 2 weeks ago, so yeah.
Nice. Yeah, good for you. Well, you know, go celebrate with your teammates down there. Great run, and we'll see you when we head into Charlotte.
Real quick, did y'all were y'all able to catch the? I tried doing the Chastain there.
We noticed. I called it.
We were laughing about
Sparks
it.
and
before
all you'll see on the show.
we were laughing about it for the restart. I was like, "Do you think we could do the Chastain here?" And Pedro was like, "I don't know," because I know Pedro tried it on me on Iowa when I won. So I was like, you know what? If I can't,
Right.
if I have no run at it, I'm gonna try it.
I'm glad you said something. I forgot.
Well, I'll say
That
this.
was pretty comical in turn 3 there.
I'll add this to this. Pedro
Did
ran
you
the
kill the
fastest
car?
lap. Pedro ran the fastest lap of the race when he did that, a 29:56. Kevin ran a 64 doing that.
Oh, see what in practice I tried it just to see if it worked, and I ran like the quick time in practice. So I was like, this might
Now-
work. But of course, when I tried it in the race, it got stuck on the wall.
Now, would that be a Chastain here at Darlington, or would that be a Kyle Larson?
That might be a Larson. I was thinking it might be a Larson.
Well,
Maybe if I was
they
able to
look
pull
like
it off,
Larson.
but it might be a Chastain. But
Right. Well, hey, great job, man.
thanks, guys.
You'll physically see the sparks come off the car as you go through the corner.
Can't wait to look
Pretty
at
cool,
it.
I have to say, it was classic.
Thanks, guys.
There you go. Kevin DeBrown finishes second tonight, and Chris is caught up with your winner, Pedro Mojica. This is becoming a regular occurrence there, Chris, as Pedro hops out, takes his helmet off. Fans are cheering here at Darlington as we'll see if we can pull him over here in a second. Goes up to get the checkered flag, and now he's walking back across the track to Chris and pick up Pedro and Chris as he comes to him.
I do hear some boo birds here, and I think that might be more the Kevin Brown fan club. But needless to say, Pedro goes to victory lane here tonight. 3rd win of the season, 2nd straight win, and I think the mistake Kevin might have made is telling you about maybe trying a Larson / Chastain move there. But either way, man, great job, great dominant effort tonight, and talk about the race a little bit.
No, I appreciate it, Chris. Oh my God, it feels good to get 2 in a row, and finally seems like the luck that we didn't quite have at the beginning of the season, we're starting to get that back now. So we've had the pace all year, man. So it's just now we're finally starting to get the win. So that's nice. But yeah, no, start of the race. Biggest thing is like I mentioned pre-race when you interviewed me after the qualifying, just was saving tires. So I really focused on saving tires, and that really worked out there. I was able to get back into the lead there. And then even after that first yellow, or actually we had after second yellow we all pitted. I ended up leaving a little fuel out. So from there it was kind of go hard and don't give up track position. So the first round I was running 5th gear, and then that's the rest of the race I was downshifting to 4th and running 4th most of the track, just because of leaving a little bit of fuel out. So man, so that was the thing, was once we did that, it was just maintaining track position, saving tires. Still, that was still important. But yeah, it's like doing those 2 things. We were able to get way out ahead. And honestly, we were on cruise control there at the end of the race, and then unfortunately, with about 20 to go, a yellow comes out, of course, and so we pit, and it just came down to restarts. We had a great pit stop. That was a big thing. We went in second. We came out second, but we came out first out of the group of cars who had pitted. So that was big, especially for I think Mike Montensi and Tyler Dalton took 2, and we were able to get out ahead of them, so we weren't stuck behind them. I timed the restart just perfect and was able to get a run on the outside of Scott, get the lead back, and then we just had a slew of cautions after that. So the big thing was just doing well on the restarts, which about gave it away on the first green white checker. I did a little something different. I brought them down slower than I had been, and that gave the guys behind me the opportunity to downshift to first and shift up. They had enough play there with first gear to get a nice little jump. So Kevin got a good jump, and Tyler got a good jump, and he hit the back of David, which shot David forward right next to me, or back next to me. So that's why we were side by side. And it's just unfortunate for David. I feel bad for him. He's had good runs 3 weeks in a row. In 3 weeks he's wrecked. But man, that was close though. It would have been interesting to see if he did it. If he didn't crash, what would have happened? So. But yeah, we got lucky there, that when he did wreck, that he didn't come back down the track or anything and take me with him or the rest of us. So, yeah, so then after that, I was like, okay, let me make sure not to go that slow on the restart to give Kevin any opportunity to downshift to first. So, But yeah, all in all, a hell of a race. Darlington was one of my favorite tracks, and then just over the last couple of years, just had pace, but just would struggle on the long run. So we were able to figure out with the setup today how to make it last on the long run, and we were able to be good enough on the short run. So as long as we had good restarts.
Did Damon say any? I was going to ask him off the air, but I'll go ahead and ask now. Did he say anything about potentially hooking back to the right to keep from hitting you?
Yeah, he said he was trying not to, because he was just continuously going down. It sounded like he said he was putting counter wheel input to save it, but the car just kept
Okay.
going down, down, down the track, and then he gave it one more good tug, and then that's when it hooked back to the right. So I mean, he was doing everything he could to not hit me and make a bigger mess of everything, but he was
Right.
trying to save his stuff. Like it's just we're all racing really hard.
Right.
He had a really great restart, so it's one of those, like, if he could maintain on the outside, who knows what would have happened, So
Yeah.
but yeah, he tried to do his best to not cause a big wreck, but also save it.
Right. And then he did, obviously an unfortunate job for him, but he did a good job to not make that worse than it could have been. One thing that Kevin caught, and it kind of caught my eye a little bit, because we know that there's no dynamic track in iRacing. Well, they tried it, and they've been working on it for a little bit. Darlington is set up to where the top is usually the way to go around here, but to 3 and 4, we noticed you kind of painting the line at the bottom. What was it about that was there something, grip-wise you were feeling, or was that the way to go?
For longevity of the tire, I felt that the bottom was better, and then honestly, for the way I was driving, like when I was practicing, I just couldn't get a good feel on the top. I just felt like it would be tight, or it would get tight up top, and then when I would try to cut it down, it would want to snap loose off the corner. Running the bottom, even though I think lap time wise, you run the same lap. It's just it's just a different. It's you run the same lap, but you do it differently, kind of thing.
Gotcha.
But the bottom for me was more consistent for feel, and also just for trying to maintain the tire. Like, I wanted more gap between my right side and the wall coming off the corner, so I could drive it straight off the corner without trying to cut down and put a bunch of wheel in it. So that was another reason. But yeah, I think for me it was just more consistent feel running the bottom in 3 and 4.
That makes sense. And as I think about it more and more now too, it's like maybe he was putting a lot more heat into the right front, maybe balancing the car out a little bit more, but because obviously with the right rear. Interesting. Well, great job, man. Congratulations. Win number 3 on the season. And if there was a race yesterday, you might have won it too, because you're good at sweeping, seems like, this season. But we get to 2 weeks off now, and send some shout outs wherever you like to.
No, I appreciate it, Chris. Appreciate you and Kevin, Captain Esports, for putting on the broadcast. Like to thank NC811, Call Before You Dig, for sponsoring the series, sponsoring the league, for most of their series, and doing a bunch of stuff. So I appreciate them and everything they do. Trans Service, Glenn Campbell, I appreciate them for letting me run the scheme and his brand in this series and all the other series I've been running. I'm glad to be representing them right. And Max Graphics for painting the car. Appreciate them for the car. All the guys on Team Name. Unfortunately, again, we all were running pretty good, and then just there at the end, it seemed like a few of us got into issues again. But unfortunate. But I know those guys. They run good, and their luck will turn around, I'm sure.
Well, great job. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was just gonna say this last. Just thanks for the family for letting me come down and hang out for a little bit.
I heard that little gap, and I was like, oh, I thought he was done. My bad. But glad you were able to get everybody in there, and congratulations on your win, man.
I appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely, buddy. Pedro Mojica, the winner tonight, 2nd straight win, 3rd overall in the season. He's going to extend that point lead pretty good here when it's all said and done. And let me correct myself when I say it's actually a week off, not 2 weeks off. So they'll be back on June 5th for the Cup Series from Charlotte Motor Speedway, the 811 Cup Series back in action. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to actually having some a little bit of time off here, and actually probably going to do a little bit of racing. So for those who are interested, you can come join me throughout the week for some racing. I know I'll go ahead and put it out there. Yes, Wednesday night I am racing in the truck series. I was kind of I was trying to keep it quiet, but the secret's out. So it's as Joey actually kind of teased me with. He's like, it's kind of broadcaster versus broadcaster. I'm like, I like it. But then I came across a video of last year's 600-mile race where guess who ran against each other in that race, believe it or not. It was Kevin.
And how did that turn out?
You actually beat me because of an idiot. But anyways, there's the racing in me coming out already. Should be fun. Looking forward to Wednesday. And it's a Trans Service Truck Series in action, kicking off their season at Daytona. That race, again, as I mentioned, will be on the All-Star 15 Network. TV, I should say. It's a streaming broadcast that'll be over on Facebook. Looks like they have a YouTube channel also and other good stuff. So, yeah, I'm sure there'll be a link out there or whatever. So, should be fun. So, good luck to AJ and going from there. Kevin, appreciate your time, man. Any final thoughts before you walk away?
I just one comment. I found my drafting buddy for Wednesday night. We'll be set. But I'm struck by Pedro's his recount of the races. He's so plugged in. You would think in his full night of racing he would lose bits and parcels, but he can replay the entire thing all the way through, and that just strikes somebody who is on top of the craft, so to speak. He just understands the entire dynamic. He knows who's doing what, when they're doing it. And in some respects, that's probably part of the success formula for him. I'm just so impressed with his season he's putting together.
And that's just a different way people do. Some people remember stuff like that. Some people don't. And I know I'm one. I bring up that Charlotte race. There's plenty of times where I've been out there and remember things. There's times you don't. And unfortunately, a lot of it's negative. But yeah, I mean, for Pedro to be able to kind of break down every section of the race and that kind of thing. Yeah, that's impressive. So I do agree with you on that 100%. So, but Kev, appreciate it, man. We will go enjoy your family time, and we shall talk next week.
Enjoyed every minute. Thanks, everybody.
Hey, absolutely. So, do appreciate everybody watching. Of course, yeah, streaming-wise, league-wise, this is the last broadcast I'll have until a week from Sunday, as we'll be back for the NC811 Grand National Series. So looking forward to a little bit of time off and doing some racing against Kev and others on Wednesday night. So appreciate Joey, appreciate NC811.org for sponsoring the series. Let's again think about those we've lost. Charles, sorry, I kind of threw you under the bus there. Anyways, big shout out to again, those who served our country, those we've lost. Let's think about them as we go into the weekend, which is the true meaning of Memorial Day, as we pay homage to those people who have fought for this country to allow us to be able to enjoy the weekend with our families and stuff and enjoy all the racing. And let's go from there. So everybody enjoy the rest of your Monday night and enjoy the rest of the week. And always remember, this isn't just a game. It's iRacing. See ya!
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless. A sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it. And I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Yeah, don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, 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 I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, 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 yeah.
yours for the taking. If you make up your mind, you can take it. I'm never complacent. I would work in a mansion or basement, yeah. There's no replacement for persistence, it's a patience, yeah. In this life, I wanna be soaring, to feel sun inside when it's pouring. And I'll fight till anxiety is foreign. I'm so sick of my mind's extortion.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah.